We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
We've got a Cactus Spotlight here for you. A wrestler that isn't getting enough attention for Team USA. A wrestler who has been tearing it up, not only at the collegiate scene, but also internationally. We're talking about Andrew Alirez, Northern Colorado product. And let's just go through what he's done recently because this isn't being talked about enough.
That's for sure.
He has been on a roll. I think quietly been on a roll too. So for those of you guys out there that don't know, Andrew Alirez recently wrestled in an overseas tournament. A few Team USA guys were there. I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly. So it was the Ziolkowski tournament, memorial tournament in Poland, where he beat a three-time world champion, currently number 5 in the weight rankings by Flow Wrestling, a man named Haji Aliyev.
Yeah, and the reigning Olympic silver medalist.
Yep, and it wasn't like, oh, he squeaked by on a shot clock point. He beat him 8-0.
Yeah, no, that's a commanding, like, that's not like, oh, I got like one lucky throw, or I got a leg lace and rolled it 5 times and got a quick. You wrestled the world champ, Olympic silver medalist for the entire length of the match, and he couldn't score on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so incredibly impressive. And again, like, I think people are like, oh, that's cool, but I don't think people realize like the gravity of the situation, which is going to bring us, and we'll talk about it, sooner.
Well, I mean, the gravity of the situation. This on the international scene, Alirez is a nobody. He hasn't done anything significant, like except for this now.
Exactly. I mean, even domestically, like, he's got a pretty good domestic hit list, and we'll cover it, pretty soon. But like, this is a guy that's never made a world team.
Yeah.
At any level.
So internationally, he's done nothing, and here he is knocking off a world champ, multi-time
world champ. I'm just gonna get right into it. I think it would be in his best interest to take an Olympic red shirt.
I agree. I mean, come on, this has clearly got to be one of the top contenders. Yeah, he may be ranked 5th, but the rankings are always subjective based, or not subjective, based on the ranking tournaments. So like, if you don't go to the ranking tournaments, that affects your ranking. So like, this is clearly one of the top guys, if not the top guy to beat, and he dominated him.
Oh yeah. I mean, the big thing too is like, hey, this is not just any world team coming up. This is the Olympic world team.
That's true.
This is a weight that, 65 kilos has not been America's strong suit. Right now, people are just talking about it as, oh, it's going to be a race between Yanni and Nick Lee. But as we talked about off camera, he's beaten Nick Lee. So I'm just going to run through quick, like, what the hit.
That's wild. Just to hear he's beaten Nick Lee in freestyle. Like,
so in 2019, while Andrew Alirez was still a high schooler, he teched Nick Lee at the 2019 Wyoming Cowboy Open. Nick Lee had not won a national championship yet, but he was returning 5th place All-American and would again All-American that season. So this wasn't just like, oh, he's some run-of-the-mill. He's a high schooler teching a returning Division I All-American. Then, about a year later, in October 2020 at Senior Nationals, who does he beat? Joey McKenna, Yaya Thomas, Evan Henderson. And Evan Henderson was one of Nick Lee's only domestic losses recently, in the past few years.
And so this guy Evan Henderson's been a solid domestic competitor. So
then looking even at his.
So how come we didn't see him go for the world team spot this year then?
That's a good question. So I think a lot of these guys, especially coming off of such a good year for folk style, you're thinking maybe, oh, he's just going to double down and really focus on the folk style season. You saw guys like David Carr do this, that are like, hey, like, this is my last run at folk style. As coaches always say, you have 4 years to do folk style and then the rest of your life to do freestyle. So I think he realizes that, I had really good success, but it was kind of closer to real woods. Bo Bartlett's right behind me. I really want to maybe lean into that success that I could have in the folk style season just to double down and not be a one-time champ.
I mean, it would be crazy to think if he did go out for the team, knowing that Nick Lee might not actually even be Team USA's finest. And we were talking about it, how based on their results at the ranking series, that we were a little skeptical of Nick Lee's performance and how we might be saying, "Oh, Yanni would have been looking good, maybe, or a little bit better here." But
Yeah, that's
imagine if
right.
Alirez had even gone out for it. Maybe he's the best one out there.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. Is Nick Lee got teched by either the number 4 or number 6 guy in the 65 kilo weight class. So it was either a guy directly above or directly below, who the guy that Alirez just almost teched as well. So you're saying, wow, like, he, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely remember us being like, "Oh, this is a little concerning that Nick Lee's getting teched by this guy. That he isn't like the best guy out there, and then Alirez is knocking off a guy better than him, which is like what?"
Yep.
I wonder too if maybe he's not getting as much attention as he probably should be because of the school that he goes to. It's a smaller school, Northern Colorado, not really a top program yet. Maybe it's on the rise. But if this is a Big Ten school, if this was a Penn State guy or an Iowa guy or Ohio State, I feel like he'd be getting so much more hype. But since he's Northern Colorado, maybe he's not getting as much say.
This is why he deserves the Cactus Spotlight.
Yeah, so we're bringing attention to it at least. And it's interesting too, because even though Mason Paris got the Hodge Trophy last year, in doing some research, Alirez's dominance score was actually higher than Paris last year. So some may say he was arguably the most deserving.
I remember seeing some of those statistics and being like, Alirez is definitely a top contender for the Hodge this past year. Like if he had won it, I would have been like, that's a solid, well deserved, well earned.
I think just like you were saying, like Alirez not going to some of these like traditional top schools, kind of gave him an unfair bias negatively for the Hodge, where they're just like, oh, well, he's in Northern Colorado. Like, who do they wrestle? But, just like you said, he had the highest, I believe it was the highest. I know it was higher than Mason Paris. I think it was higher than Carter as well. I think he had the highest dominance score. And if you're going just by like the numbers, that should have been, a pretty big impact.
Yeah. I mean, that's 25% of the criteria.
So it'd be very interesting. I think this is part of Iowa's master plan to make Alirez Olympic red shirt next year so that they have a chance at the title.
So they can have an individual champ in Real Woods.
In Real Woods.
I just think it's crazy. Like, man, I talked to you guys about this. He's never made a world team. I mean, this is a guy that was a junior Pan Am champ, 3rd at the 2019 Junior World Team Trials, 2nd at the 2019 U.S. Open, where he beat Nick Lee, 4th at the Dave Schultz Memorial, 2nd at the 2018 Junior World Team Trials, and 3rd at the 2018 Junior U.S. Open. I think that he's saying, man, I'm hitting my stride. I'm beating these tough guys. If I commit it 1 full year in an Olympic red shirt and I make a big push for the 2024 Olympic spot at 65 kilos, he goes, I've already beaten Nick Lee, and Nick Lee just blanked Yanni.
Right. Yeah. And
I think he's saying, hey, I could take this spot and I could maybe be a placer here. And I could always just use my red shirt to come back a year later. And selfishly, as a Penn State fan, I love it. Go for it, man. Get out of the way.
Is there even a regional training center near Northern Colorado? Like, who's he training with?
Look into it. I honestly don't know.
Who's he training with that he's able to knock off a multi-time world champ?
Troy Nickerson's the head coach, and he was I think a 25-pounder for Cornell.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he won the national title.
So I would imagine that he's scrapping with his coach. I don't know who
he's got. Steve O'Poulin at 25.
Yeah, you got Steve O'Poulin. I mean, they're definitely on the rise. Vinny Zerbin was a round of 12 guy who beat Levi Haynes during the regular season.
Yeah.
If you Google it, you could find their website. They have a Northern Colorado Regional Training Center, USA Wrestling sanctioned Olympic level training center. Qualification they talk about, but to be there, you have to live within 250 miles of it. So that's a pretty big regional training center. So, who knows the guys that he's training with, how far they're coming.
Right. But I mean, it's definitely not like the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club.
No,
it's like, it's definitely not getting like, that kind of depth.
Yeah, but I admire him because he was one of the top prospects out of high school, and he could have gone anywhere, but he's from Colorado, and he stayed loyal. And that was part of his championship speech. He was I stayed loyal. I stayed home. And I think just being close to home maybe is leading to some of the success that he's having.
He's
Yeah,
probably
he brought
training.
the title.
He's probably training with Rudy Lopez, who is also a UNC wrestler. He's a guy that is, if you type in like our Northern Colorado RTC, you find Rudy Lopez from Flow, and he was a semifinalist for the World Team Trials this year for U23 and U20. I didn't look into it which one he was
Okay.
at 70 kilos. So he's a weight class above him. And
Right. Yeah. So that's probably a training partner, right?
He wrestled with Doug Zaff. So quality kid, and I'm sure that's his training partner and someone that is good freestyle background. That's a weight class above him, help push him.
But he's not training with any current world team members or
not that I know. Not that
like,
I know. No.
Yeah, so like,
which makes it even more impressive that
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, he's not training with the current world team guys. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he takes the Olympic training, Olympic year, maybe goes to the OTC, the Olympic Training Center, trains with these top guys from Team USA. I mean, he can only get better, having better facilities and better coaches and better partners. I mean, this is a guy that seems to be making, amazing things with limited opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, he went from 7th at NCAAs to 1st and undefeated to boot and almost won the Hodge, like all in a year's span. Like that's a pretty solid jump there. And even he lost to Real Woods the year before, and then he reversed the result in the national finals. So like that's a solid improvement.
I think more people need to be talking about Andrew Alirez, and this is a Cactus Spotlight, putting the name out there. He's someone to be keeping an eye out for Team USA potentially in the near future. So drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you think about Alirez and the run that he's on, and let us know what you think.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.